Welcome to the Expert CRE Secrets podcast, where we believe most commercial real estate agents, brokers, and realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven brokerage strategy such as the eXp commercial model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. Each episode, I am joined by some of the best commercial real estate agents, brokers, also residential realtors and brokers, and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple, as well as brokerage strategies simple, and passive income plans achievable. Please welcome to the show my next guest. He's actually originally from New York, and he started in the brokerage world, had a great start, moved to North Carolina, got some bumps and bruises trying to go into a new market, found an amazing coach, established a system, and has become a rock star agent, so much so that he became a coach, and now he is passionate about helping people who are in the brokerage world create passive income through the eXp model and solve a lot of residential real estate agent brokerage challenges. Please welcome to the show with me, John Mikesh. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Brett.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on the show and get to know you a little bit more. Would you give our listeners maybe a little bit more about your background and your current focus?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I started out in residential real estate in New York and did real well out of the gate, moved down to North Carolina. Thought, hey, it's a bigger area than where I'm from. I should naturally do better, be able to sell more. That wasn't the case. And that led me on a journey to find answers to questions that I had, which was, how do I do this thing? How do I make this a sustainable career for myself? And ultimately, it was that training and coaching that I got that enabled me to go from struggling agent to top producing agent to then having a top producing team. And I think it's applicable whether it's residential or commercial. Is once we know how to take the right steps in the right order, we can do anything we want. And if we'll just believe in our ability to figure things out and what's possible, my goal, similar to what you teach, was always to have a passive income opportunity. And the way that I thought I was going to do that prior to eXp was to have a fully leveraged residential brokerage where I wasn't working in the day-to-day, I wasn't selling the houses, but I was able to earn a significant income that I could then invest into, real estate, long-term, build wealth, and still doing that to this day and still believe that model is great. I just was fortunate enough to come into the eXp opportunity. And I think what eXp does is it allows us a passive income piece while we're doing the same things that we're already going to do to build this long-term real estate portfolio. And it just allows us to capture some passive income along the way, which I think is really neat.
It's amazing, actually. And if you think about it, in the same likewise story, in commercial real estate, we always called it getting on the other side of the phone. And the goal was to learn and learn from your clients and serve enough clients and close enough deals so that you could earn a lot of commissions. And then you can start buying these multifamily properties or buying these commercial properties, right? And adding value and making a bunch of wealth there. And that was really always the goal, right? As well as loving brokerage and competing in the business and serving clients. But yeah, the other one was some folks would want to own the brokerage or start their own brokerage. Not so much in commercial, because it's kind of like these typically big players in the industry, and there's some independence. But likewise, you go, oh, why not just keep doing what you're doing now, and be a owner by getting stock in a company that's amazing, right? So talk about that mindset of shifting from ownership, having to own the brokerage or own the real estate, versus, oh, I can become basically like a partner inside of an eXp, and how that's transformed your career.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's the thing that actually kept me away from eXp for as long as it did. For 4 years, I've been pushing eXp aside and saying, not for me. And the reason that I was saying that, looking back, was really mainly just ego and a misunderstanding. My ego was like, well, I already have a real estate company. Why would I partner with you? Like, I'm proud of the independent brand that I built. What do I need you for? And then I just didn't understand their model. And I didn't understand that they actually wanted me to continue with that brand that I built, just use their platform to do it. So once I took a really hard look at what the information was and how eXp worked, I didn't see it as a replacement of my brokerage. I saw it as an addition to. an ability to scale at a greater, level, not be geographically limited, not have the, headaches and pains that it would take for me to grow my real estate business to a multiple office location. And for that reason, I hadn't done it. I had plenty of opportunities to scale my independent real estate brand to multiple markets. But when you looked at the weight of the cost of doing that and the challenges and everything that would have to be set up, to me, it just wasn't worth the effort. So now that I'm with eXp, I not only have an ability to increase my brand awareness in my market, but I can take it to other markets and I can share the things that worked with me with other people around the country. And I think that when you really understand eXp, whether it's residential or commercial, the collaboration effect that they're putting in place is what's going to drive this company to 100, 200, 300,000 agents and beyond.
Amazing. We're going to dive into those maybe 3 secrets to understanding the model in a minute here, and also getting out of the way of your own ego, because likewise, John, I struggle with that too. Hi, my name is Brett. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate, a brokerage junkie, and I love investment real estate. I love brokerage. I love capital gains tax deferral. I love everything investments. I'm really competitive, but guess what? I got a big ego and I got a lot of pride, right? And I got to be humble and get out of the way. So we're going to dive into that in a minute. But I want to take a step back, John. I want to help the listener get to know you a little bit more. I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life. And I believe these are God-given gifts. And I believe these gifts are given to us in order to be a blessing or a help to others. So some people might call them superpowers. Some people might call them strengths. So I'm curious, John, take a step back, maybe the high school days, maybe the junior high days. And what were those 1 or 2 strengths that you believe you were given? And how do they help, how you help and bless people today?
Man, if I look at myself in my high school days, I don't know what gifts I would really come up with. I definitely wasn't the person that looked like they were most likely to succeed at any level. In fact, when I graduated high school by the skin of my teeth, I actually relocated at that time and I moved down to St. Simon's Island for a couple of years. Really, I was just trying to get out of the environment that I was in. And looking back along my journey, I can say with absolute certainty that environment is everything. And if you're in an environment that's not conducive to success, you're never going to have success in that environment. So I got myself out of that environment. I put myself into a new environment. I challenged myself. And I was able to find a great family down there. And they introduced me to God and religion and just a whole wealth of things that I wasn't exposed to prior to. And that really changed me. And through that process, what I learned is that I'm really good at assimilating with people of any walk of life wherever I am. And if I had to say, what is my skill set now? It's like, I feel like I can relate to people at very diverse and different levels. And that's allowed me in residential real estate to really connect with people. And, I'd say one of my skills is that I can connect with people, and being able to connect with people and build rapport allows you to enter into relationships. And those relationships, like you just said, when you really care about the person and you build a relationship with them, you can serve them at a higher level. And, that is really the crux of the challenge that I had in my residential real estate company. My biggest challenge, and the challenge that was so big that I didn't know if I even wanted to continue down the path anymore, was that I would bring agents in that had no real estate background or, past experience at all. And I would teach them a model, a system of doing business that would allow them to be so successful if I could just get them to follow my model. And because of the ability to connect and build rapport, I could help them do that they would ultimately achieve levels of success they didn't think were possible for themselves. Again, new environment. And then in that new environment, they would want more. The challenge I had as a residential real estate broker owner is that I didn't have more to give them. The only thing more beyond doing extremely well selling real estate within my brokerage was to move to that next level and have their own brokerage or team. And because I couldn't solve that problem, ultimately what happened is I became an incubator for talent that would then ascend beyond me and become my competition in my marketplace. And eXp solves that problem.
So let's pause there, because I think that is so well said. And they wanted more, and you weren't able to give it to them because your ceiling was you had owned the brokerage, and that's how you had ascended to more. And in fact, I call this the 50-50 scratch my back, I'll scratch your back type of model, which most, by the way, commercial real estate brokerages is probably even tougher on this, where you come in and you have this mentor and he's going to give you his secrets, but he's going to give you enough secrets to be successful so that he can, obviously earn, which he should, because they've earned it by bringing you in and mentoring you. But at the same time, there's this apprehension that, is this someone going to leave me and all of a sudden start cold calling next to me on the same people, and or even worse, leave the entire company and go to like a CB Richard Ellis or a JLL or Cushman and Wakefield. And my story is that Marcus and Millichap. I was sitting there and I literally was so excited about all the mentors, all the people coaching and teaching me, that I started recruiting people and bringing them in and coaching them up and training them up. And I found that if you have a guide that's just a few steps ahead of you, that's the best way to learn. Not someone necessarily that's so far ahead of you, but I was adding value to them. But guess what happened? All of a sudden, I'm looking around, I'm like, hey, I brought that guy in, trained that guy, coached that guy, mentored that guy, and now I'm competing on the same listings. And it's like, well, that's great for Marcus and Millichap because they're the owner of the company, right? But it's not so great for Brett. And so it was this weird tension. And during that time too, I had 5 mentors. I don't know if you relate to this. The first mentor was fired. I was with him for 3 months. He was amazing. He was fired. I was like, oh, totally bummed out. The second mentor, he fired me within about a year and a half of the mentorship. The next mentor, we got along great. He was so good that he got promoted. This is all within the same office, by the way.
Wow.
The broker owner or broker of the office, he was fired. And then I had another mentor who was always my mentor, but he was never paid on any deals because he was my cousin. So I'm looking at all these people who poured into me and coached me up, and some of them got paid, some of them didn't, some of them got more than the value. And it was this whole thing of, it was always kind of 50-50, except for one mentor who was my cousin, and he was always 100% in, but he was in retail. He wasn't in multifamily. And so the model that they had set up was you specialize and you follow that one product type. And again, it created this sense where he always wanted me to succeed, but the other folks wanted me to succeed enough for them to get their business. It was just a weird dynamic. And so fast forward, I joined eXp about 6 months ago, and literally it's transformational what I've seen on how to align financially and as collaboration and team members, right? Versus just this weird competition thing. So would you speak to that, John, or does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, it resonates at my core because I think if we're being honest with ourselves, if we're the mentor in that scenario and we're helping somebody and we can only help them so much without hurting ourselves, we're actually not giving all of what we have to somebody, and that doesn't feel authentic. And I think that when you look at the brokerage model, whether it's commercial or residential, and you start to see what's broken about that model, it's just that. We're in an information technology era where, information is so readily available. And if somebody has the hunger and desire, they can go find that mentor, they can go find that information, and they can become successful. Now, when we're mentoring somebody or we have a mentor, it's a weird thing if we want to go a different direction. It was a struggle for me I've had many different mentors, and I spent countless dollars on personal development and coaching. And it's always a weird thing when somebody really helps you and you use that information to grow, but then you want to grow in maybe a slightly different direction. And all of a sudden you're not paying that mentor anymore, and that relationship evaporates overnight. I don't think that's good for the mentee or the mentor. And when you look at the model that eXp has put in place, it's so perfect because it allows you to be a mentor to somebody and give them all that you have and sponsor them into the business. And then ultimately, if they want to grow a little bit different than you, if they want to go get some different training, they can do that. And we have all of that in this collaboration world that we've created. And you're not losing the relationship with them because there's no payment between them and you. eXp and the model provides the benefit to do so. And I've just seen it. I mean, it's one thing to say it and hear it on a podcast like this. It's another thing to experience it. Since I've been with eXp, I've gotten on the phone with people that have no vested interest in me whatsoever, but they're willing to get on a call and help me or help one of my people because it's just that kind of an environment. We're being so well taken care of that nobody needs to, have a hand in the cookie jar, so to speak.
So well said. Yeah, and so much there. And I call it transformational brokerage model, right? And it truly unlocks everyone's secrets. And if John is in my downline, if I'm mentoring John, I want John to be 10x successful, right? And then by the way, John has a downline as well. And we want that person to be 10x successful. So not only does they get John and Brett. And then likewise, so yeah, there is this MLM thing to it, but realize that it's not the traditional MLM, which you think about, like, I don't get paid unless John is being successful in real estate. And by the way, every other model is like an MLM, even like a Marcus Millichap, right? Except they don't give you an extra downline, right? They don't give you that person who mentors you. So I may be with somebody who's been in the business for 30 years in commercial real estate, who's given me all of his secrets, right? And then he just retires, let's just say, right? I have all those secrets, and I might train one person, give them all the secrets, and they just leave all of a sudden. So that legacy that broker has built in relationships for 30 years, guess what? They don't have any ownership in the company, right? They just walk away, and they might maybe sell their book of business to somebody the best they can. But even in real estate, it's kind of tough because it's also transaction oriented. It's not like a financial advisor where it's this recurring revenue stream. Every deal is deal specific. So talk about just the legacy and the opportunity to take a little bit more passive approach, okay, to real estate versus being in the trenches, right? And also being able to make sure that your business continues to grow after you leave or after you're in the trenches of day-to-day brokerage.
Yeah, well, what's so cool about this model that's different from my traditional real estate brokerage model was in my traditional real estate brokerage, I had worked myself to a point where I was not selling any of the houses anymore. And I had even taken myself out of the day-to-day business where I had managers in place that were running that, but I still had a very volatile business. And I say that because if at any point we stopped being able to provide the majority of the opportunities to our agents, we would lose the majority of that commission that we were earning as part of that opportunity. So we were always like, all right, are we providing enough? Are we giving, like, checking all the data, like how many deals did that agent get from us versus brought from their self? So it was very stressful, even though I was very leveraged at that point, because just like you just said, we're all in multi-level marketing to some extent. The only question is how many levels do we have? And in this, I had one level of leverage, maybe two if you count my manager. So you could say I had a 2 leverage layer of leverage system, but it was very geographically limited, and it was limited to the value that I was providing. When you converse that with what eXp offers, we now have everything going on that we had originally, but we've added these components of revenue share and stock options. And by doing that, what we've done is we've now given all of the same leverage and opportunity that I have as the owner of that company directly to an agent, because an agent can go out and build their own team of people. And guess what? I'll help you do it. And when you really understand that, the power of that, it's unlike anything else there. Because if you're a brand new agent, you just got involved in the business, what's your opportunity to go out and build a team? Probably not much. It's same as if you're in commercial, like you're just trying to make your way and try to get your feet, planted on the ground and start doing some deals. But out of day one, an agent can now introduce this opportunity to somebody with my help, with an upline's help, and they could get somebody like yourself into the business, somebody like yourself who sees the power of the passive income model, who understands it's something you're already doing. It's just a better vehicle to do it in. And all of a sudden, guess what? If I stop working tomorrow, that new agent's not going to stop working. If I stop working and that new agent stops working, but they introduced you, you don't care what I do or what they do. You're going to do what you're going to do. And when you start to compound that out over dozens or hundreds of people, you find a model that simply cannot be beat. Like in the residential side, I'll have a conversation with anybody. Gary Keller's model is great for Gary Keller. He gets all the revenue share, but it's not great for the agents at that company. Whereas our model is great for all the people who want to build it, and everybody gets rewarded for the effort that they put in and the effort of those people below them. And when you really understand that power, I don't know how you could be looking at this objectively and saying, no, what I'm doing at my current brokerage with no leverage and no passive income, while I save up a nest egg to invest in real estate and build some income, I don't see how you could logically say that's better, because we can do that too. But we're making passive income along the way that allows us to not only do that in addition to, but we can accelerate the path to doing that.
Absolutely. So it's truly the Netflix versus the Blockbuster, right? The old way of doing things is the Blockbuster, and there's a new way called Netflix, right? And it's this transition. I mean, part of what's pretty neat is you look at the stock market, right? You look at the price of that and where it's gone. I think it hit $80 last week. Unbelievable, right? From about $8 or $6, even a penny stock just a handful of years ago. But at the heart of this now, let's imagine I'm listening to this, John. I'm like, okay, let's put to aside. Let's imagine it is as wonderful as you guys are saying it is. But it's just so the vehicle works, the model works. Let's assume like the person who's listening to this says, "Yep, it works now." The next thing becomes the personal self, right? And this is the part where we talked about ego and pride, right? And understanding. So again, John, walk us through the secret for you to getting out of your own way and humbling yourself enough to look at the model, understand it, underwrite it. Walk us through that transformational process, because it's not easy. And it wasn't easy for me either, by the way. Three and a half years ago, I was approached in Sacramento, and they told me about this, and I'm like, nah, I'm a commercial guy. This isn't, yeah, I'm good. That's an MLM. It sounds a little bit too crazy for me. I'm good. And I passed on it. And it's probably cost me millions of dollars now, looking at potentially where the stock would have been and the deals that I did. But walk through, John, your transformational process to get out of your own way.
So my transformational process included, being able to watch a very close friend of mine do this. And he did it, even while I was shaming him for it, while I was saying that wouldn't work. And I watched a good friend of mine go from 0 to 7+ figures in this opportunity in a 3.5-year period. And that doesn't happen for everybody, but it happened for my friend who I know personally. And as I watched him do this and I saw the effort that he was putting in, I said, wait a minute, I already have something that's built I'm super leveraged on that, I'd put up against anybody's real estate team or brokerage in the country based on the numbers that we were producing. And yet here, my friend who didn't have any of that is out earning me now on a model where he put in way less effort and way less time.
How did that make you feel, John? John, how did that make you feel? As a competitor, I can tell you're a competitor and you're you want to succeed. How did that make you feel?
it made me feel good, to be honest with you, because I'm super competitive, but I love this person because he's a close friend of mine. It made me feel excited because I knew him well enough and I knew if he did it, I could do it. And that was like very encouraging for me. But then I started to say, okay, well, I'm like a worst case scenario thinker. So let's say I do this, but I just, I don't want to do MLM. I don't want to talk to anybody about this. I don't want to recruit anybody. Let's just isolate what this opportunity is. And I think whenever you're investigating an opportunity, you need to isolate what the questions and the doubts are to get the correct information. So I said, okay, I'm never going to recruit somebody into this model. I'm just going to do what I'm already doing, and I'm going to move to eXp. And I started to look at my history, and I started my independent real estate company in 2014. So I said, what if for the last 6 years, I would have been with eXp? eXp would have given me stock when I sold houses, given me stock awards when I would have hit certain milestones. And I can look at how many houses I sold during each of those years and see exactly what I would have gotten. So I looked at that, and I'm somewhat technical when it comes to stuff like that when I'm assessing an opportunity. And the reality is if I would have moved over 6 years ago and just sold the houses that I sold, I would have over $1 million in stock that they would have given me today. So it's easily cost me $1 million. Now, the other side of that coin was, well, what if I didn't recruit anybody to eXp, but I just recruited people to my team, to my company? And I looked at the people that I had with my company now, and I looked at the people that had left and started their own companies in my marketplace. And I ran those people that came through me. How many of them would have stayed with eXp? I don't know. I'd like to think 3/4 would have, because they would have built something while they were with me that would have been significant. So 75% of the people that came through me over those 6 years would have stayed with eXp, and nobody recruited anybody. These were just people that came through my company. That would have been over $1 million as well. So it's a multiple $1 million opportunity loss, but I'm not discouraged. I feel like, everything in his timing, right? I'm here now and I'm excited to be here. And I believe that I can offer a lot of value to people that, want to get involved in the opportunity and also want the coaching and mentorship that we can provide at no cost now.
Absolutely. And that's at the heart of what I love about eXp and kind of the shift here now as well, is it's not just about selling real estate and making money, right? It's truly about leadership, personal development, It's about working with the team. It's about working 100%, right? Where it's like, we're all in this together, right? And I love the way Brent Gove, he's like part of my upline, and he says, making real estate fun again, right, and exciting again, and it truly is amazing once you experience it. So
It's true though. It's fun.
yeah, so let's underwrite the model for a second, right? Because you touched on some key things, right? So you basically, and I love it because a commercial real estate agent, if you're listening to this, we always underwrite properties, right? We do projections, we do, cap rates, internal rates of returns, cash on cash return, return on equity, all of these metrics to value properties. But if correct me if I'm wrong, John, but basically what you did is you just valued your brokerage, right? And you took a 5 or 6 year time frame, you reverse engineered it and said, okay, what would have happened had I done that, what my friend had done, had I listened to him, had you taken your pride out of the way earlier, right? And what does that look like? And that's millions of dollars. And so walk us through some of those numbers and just maybe some of the numbers that you were doing on with as far as transactions and volume, and maybe just give an example of that so someone who's listening for the first time can kind of grasp what you're saying.
Yeah, so an example of that is if you sell a certain amount of property per year, you can become what they call an icon agent. So because we were selling hundreds of homes a year, we would have qualified for icon agent each and every year of those 6 years. So if we look at that icon agent program, they would have given me $16,000 worth of stock 6 years ago. And we can look at what the value of the stock was 6 years ago, and we can figure out what $16,000 worth of stock then would be worth today. And we did that for each year, every year. The stock went up along the way pretty significantly at some points, but we would still have gotten $16,000 worth of stock every year. And today that stock would be worth over $1 million.
Perfect. That makes
So
sense. I love how
easy.
Simple you made that. And by the way, what was the stock price 6 years ago?
Oh gosh, it was like $1 something a share.
And now it hit $80. And as we're recording this here, December 29th, 2020, it's looking like it's at 68 right now. So it dropped a little bit in the past week, but so if you $16,000 of stock at $1, right? You do the math there at $68 today. So
one of the things I've heard about the stock, Brett, that I think is pretty interesting is they say, well, the stock it's going up so quick because the agents are inflating the value of the stock. And I say, oh, that's an interesting viewpoint that you have, because all of us agents, eXp, are owners of the company. I said, okay, well, if what you say is true, let's not dispute that. Let's just say that you're right, and that's what's happening. We have 40,000 agents right now. What's going to happen to the stock value when we have 100,000 agents, 200,000 agents? So I'm very excited by the stock opportunity because, I'm a simple path to wealth kind of guy. If you know JL Collins, I love simple path to wealth. I love VTSAX. I love the set it and forget it mindset. And I have a large amount of my investment in VTSAX. But with this is an investment that eXp is building basically for me for doing what I'm already doing. And when you think about the growth of the company and the projections that we have where this is going to go with international and all the new countries that we're opening up with commercial now, it's really exciting to see because this is basically a second full retirement being built on the backside.
Beautiful. I love the way you said that. Now I want to go to some of the top objections. Like, John, I'm too busy. I'm doing too many deals to make this big change.
Yeah.
So, John, what was your team size? What was it, and what was the transition like to eXp?
So when I approached my team about it, I flew in I live in Bozeman, Montana now, and I flew back to Lake Norman, North Carolina area, and I met with my team, and I just shared the vision that I had with them. I said, hey, everything that we're doing is working great. We're providing this opportunity for you, but we see change as inevitable, and we see an opportunity for more. And I laid out the vision and the business model for eXp, and I shared it with my 17 people at that time, and every single person came on board.
Of those 17, John, how many are still eXp?
All 17.
And how many folks have they helped train and coach? And that's really what it's about. When you're adding value, you're training and coaching and empowering people to grow as leaders and real estate professionals. The MLM thing just kind of goes away. You're adding value and you're helping me close more deals and serve more clients. So how much have you grown to now with your team?
So we've been in eXp now just under 4 months. So come to January 1st will be 4 months. And last that I checked, I had 140 people in my eXp organization.
Amazing. Yeah. And then you guys doing masterminds, coaching. Walk us
Yeah.
through what the average week looks like with either adding value or touching those 140 members
Well,
or
I think, you know,
partners.
from my team standpoint, the value that we're adding is in the conversations that we're having, which before was like, hey, here's a way for you to like do a little bit better and sell an extra house or two a year. But now we're having conversations like, hey, you've been at this for 3 years. You're selling homes at a high level. Let's talk about what your next 3 years look like. Let's put a plan in place where we can help you leave my company and have a company of your own. And guess what? I'll help you do it so you don't make any mistakes. Because as they grow, we all grow and we all want to help each other. So now I'm vested in the success of each and every one of my agents, and they come in and they have a much longer runway as far as they want with it, and I'll help them do it any way I can. So that's a whole different conversation that we couldn't have before, which I think is worth mentioning. But on a weekly basis, what we do for our organization is we provide the accountability systems and structure that have led to us to be successful in the real estate space. So because of what I built in the residential real estate space, I kicked off a coaching company because people were asking me to teach them how I did what I did. So it was just a natural progression. I didn't market it. It was just people reaching out to me. And now what we've done is we've taken the same things that we've proven to work in a real estate business model, and we've applied them to the eXp model. And we're providing weekly calls for accountability, for coaching, for training. We're providing a community structure, and we're providing all the online training and resources that they need to be successful right out of the gate. So we look at it as our eXp Ignite is an opportunity not just to join eXp, but to join eXp within a framework of support and training that's going to allow you to be successful, not only with this opportunity, but also with the residential sales side of the business as well.
Absolutely. And you can find more about that at expignite.com. And if anyone's listening to this and you're a real estate broker, commercial or residential, I want you to consider talking with John or I about this opportunity. And you know, no questions are bad questions, right? And just really underwrite the model, understand this, because again, 3.5 years ago, I wish I would have took a closer look, right? I wish I would have underwrote the model. I wish I would have take my pride out of the way, and who knows where this is going to be in 3.5, 5, 10 years. But we are all in believers of this, so we'd love the opportunity to speak with you about it. And so you can go to eXp. Realty.com to learn more about eXp itself. You can go to eXp Ignite to learn more about John. You can go to expertcresecrets.com to learn more about the commercial part of it here that we're building here in Northern California. That being said, John, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. If you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you would make sure you would tell yourself or to do or to know?
My 25-year-old self, I would have said, slow down, do fewer things better than doing a lot of things okay.
Love it. Best real estate decision you ever made?
Joining eXp, without a doubt.
Worst real estate decision you ever made?
Not joining eXp 4 years ago. But aside from that, it would be not scaling fast enough.
Excellent. Best real estate investment you ever made?
Best real estate investment I ever made was my lake house in Lake Norman.
Beautiful. Best negotiation strategy?
Best negotiation strategy for me is always to, align yourself with the person on the other side. It's not a battle against you and them. It's a collaboration between you and them to help your clients meet in the middle.
Beautiful. Number one book you've gifted or recommended the most in the past year?
Traction by Gino Wickman.
What are you curious about right now?
I'm curious about how winter is going to be in Bozeman, Montana. My first winter here, and they say it's a long one, so we're going to see.
Amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to get out. We were talking before the show about that. What's that show called right now?
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Yes. And so that whole area of the world, I always have flown over the top of it. I want to spend some time there, and Nebraska too. Go to a Cornhuskers game once everything gets back to normal with a buddy who lives there. That being said, last question, and this will hopefully encapsulate after all your success, John, and everyone you've helped building your eXp organization, your real estate business. How do you stay centered, John, in your values? And how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new massive goals?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to accountability and like having a coach. To this day, I have a coach that I work with. It's a lot different than the coaching that I might have done 10 years ago. But I believe if we understand that we're always either growing or dying, and we're trying to grow on our own and we're not seeking advice and help from support from somebody else, we're probably not as getting as far and fast as we could otherwise.
Beautiful. Love that. Yeah, I just hired a personal coach, pay him a lot of money per hour. And then, of course, masterminds and, growing up in sports, playing hoops in college and such, like you always had a coach and you always have that mentor. At a certain point, you need another one who's a couple steps ahead of you, right? To keep you growing. Otherwise, you stagnate. So I really resonate with that. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to thank you for being on the show, John. I want to thank you for sharing your inspiration, some of your deal stories, your expertise, your passion for helping realtors create passive income through eXp Realty. That being said, John, would you remind our listeners where they can find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, just you can send me an email, john@johnmikesh.com. I respond to all of them. And then you can learn more about what we're doing at expignite.com. And I want to thank you, Brett, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, John. It's a pleasure to get to know you here and to collaborate and share the real estate, our passion together here. So that being said, I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Expert CRE Secrets podcast. As always, we believe most commercial real estate agents and realtors, residential realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven brokerage strategy such as the eXp model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way to grow your wealth. Hey, if you want to hear more about and see how eXp commercial or eXp model is hands down the best way to grow your real estate business, go to expertcresecrets.com and or reach out to John, and we would love the opportunity for you to join us. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Please